Welcome to the All Out Leadership Podcast, hosted by Pastor Eric Lawson, where each episode is uniquely designed to help you live all out by bringing you practical leadership from a biblical perspective delivered in 10 minutes or less. So whether you're a business leader, serving in ministry, or simply looking to grow in your leadership, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into this week's topic, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and download the show notes at ericlawson.com/podcast. And while you're at it, feel free to share the content on social media. Now, let's join Pastor Eric for this week's conversation.
Welcome to another edition of the All Out Leadership Podcast. We're going to be wrapping up successful transitions, and we're in 1 Chronicles 28:14, speaking of David as he's passing on the baton to his son Solomon. He gave gold by weight for the things of gold, for all the articles of every kind of service, also silver for all the articles of silver by weight, for all the articles used in every kind of service. And then it goes on with a really long list that we're not going to read, but you could read that on your own. Here's what I want to highlight, though. David gave us his personal treasure to the project. David didn't just go, "Good luck, Solomon. Hope it goes well for you. Here's the playbook. Good luck." He actually invested himself into it financially to help make sure it was a successful transition. So for us as leaders, I want to talk about passing the baton. What David didn't do is throw the baton. And I have seen a lot of slippage in terms of momentum in our organization and other organizations when people just throw a baton hoping the other person's going to catch it, rather than taking of their valuable time, their treasure, taking of their valuable energy, which is a treasure, and running alongside that person who's coming to be a successor, making sure that the baton is firmly in their hand and that they know what they're doing, and then let go and release them into it. And so I have seen one of the things that hurts us or causes us setbacks more than just about any other, apart from the playbook that we talked about last week, is number 2, throwing a baton. And sometimes I didn't think some people have even thrown it. Some people just lost it, expecting the other person to find it. But if you're a business leader, you know exactly what I'm talking about out there. And so invest your personal time to make sure this transition is successful and that you're carefully handing off the baton. The next thing that part of this handoff was this, 1 Chronicles 28:21. And David said, "Here are the divisions of the priests, the Levites for all the service of the house of God, and every willing craftsman will be with you for all manner of workmanship, for every kind of service. Also the leaders and all the people will be completely at your command." David not only gave the resources of his own time and energy in this transition, he gave the leaders to Solomon that he successfully needed in this succession. And this is one of the biggest challenges many leaders probably have, because over years of leading, you've built a lot of loyalty. You've built a lot of camaraderie with your team. People follow you because they trust you, they believe in you. So it's you not just passing on the baton of authority, you passing on the baton of the playbook, but you passing on the baton of loyalty of your team to the person you're handing this role off to. And so how are you navigating your team and all those who have been following you to take their hearts and their loyalty and now move it and transition it to your successor, this lady, this guy who you're handing this department, this ministry, this organization off to? Can you direct that loyalty that they've had for you to now direct it for them? And that's an art, not necessarily a science. That's going to be a lot of conversations that you might have with your key stakeholders that you're having one-on-one, taking out some coffees and taking them some meals and having those conversations, letting them dialogue, process, listening, and then saying, "Hey, I need a favor. Here's what I need from you. I need you to help this leader succeed. Will you give them 12 months? The same intensity, the same thing you've done for me, will you do that for them? Before you make a decision whether or not to stay, whether you make a decision to go, will you give them 12 months? Well, I don't think I can do 12 months. Will you give them 6 months?" And then you just negotiate and you just go through all your key stakeholders that you have invested in, that you know your successor needs, and you just ask them, "Hey, help this. Look, man, we built this thing together. I don't want to see this thing fall apart. I think this person is the right person to step up and take it. I think they're qualified. I think this is the person that should do it. Man, will you help them succeed the same way you've helped me?" Have some of those private conversations, leverage your equity, play your cards that you've been holding to your chest. Look, you got a bunch of aces. You've been hanging on to them. This is the time to use it. Because, again, your success is found in the success of your successor. And so help your people connect with your successor. Pass loyalty to them. And do all you can to support that successor. And there you go. Successful transitions we learned from David. And we got another 2 important lessons on the life of David. And then we're done on David. And we're going to move on to 433 lessons on the life of Moses. Just kidding. But we have some other great things we'll be tackling after David.
Thank you for joining us on the All Out Leadership Podcast. We hope you gained new biblical insight that challenged you to grow in your leadership. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we would love your help in getting the content out farther. You can help by subscribing to the podcast at ericlawson.com/podcast and telling others about it. Next week, Pastor Eric will be back with another episode. So until then, we hope you have a great week being an all-out leader.